Good morning from Yummy Bay TV. Wishing you all well today, sending loads of love to you as usual. Right, I'm going to do my best here with this one that's in front of me. I was thinking long and hard as soon as I got out of my bed a little while ago about the subject of fighters with a small margin, better ability, I believe, than some of the fighters I'm going to talk about now. But I also believe that sometimes certain men and those fighters that we talk about, when they're matched up with those fighters, a bit lighter maybe, lesser ability, but have bigger reputations for other stuff in the criminal fraternity. Is it a psychological warfare sometimes mixed with ability? I really do believe on the streets it is. Now, we'll start off with Lenny McLean, the great Lenny McLean, right? 3 men that I know for definite that he was weary of. And I asked myself the question, why, with all the knowledge that I've got, I come to a conclusion and a brilliant answer, right? So the first one, he was on the door with John Madden at Camden, right? For quite a while, right? I had 2 friends who was on the doors during that time as well. And they had various exchanges. Now, I believe John Madden, right, 17 stone, he had a bit of a belly, but, you know, pretty strong and everything. And I think he had a boxing career of some sort as well. But looking at them both, right, because remember I saw Lenny in jail as well. Now, Lenny, I believe, looking at it, I believe that Lenny might get the better of him in a row on the street. I do, right? They had various exchanges over that time at Camden Palace. And Lenny looked like he wanted to really swing after him, but left it because allegedly, I hear that John Madden had other things going on in that criminal life that was a stumbling block for Lenny to go through with a physical fight. What I'm talking about here is that if Lenny gets the better, then there could be possible comebacks. Lenny is not just a bare knuckle fighter as well. He had a brain. You couldn't have been on that door and lived the way you did. All that time was without knowing psychological and human behavior as well. You've got to be a good judge of that for the life that he led and the amount of battles he's won. So I say there was a stumbling block there, but it didn't mean to me that John Madden could beat Lenny McLean in a row. Now, there was another geezer called Al Crossley, right? But I've never met him. But through my links to people around Lenny, they were going to have something once. I don't know if Al Crossley, maybe you lot can tell me more. He had a few, maybe had some fights as well in the boxing ring. I'm not too sure. But they had a ding-dong once, and Lenny said to him, come, all right, we'll go round the front. They went round the front, but when Lenny got there was 2 carloads of mates belonging to Al. One of them was sitting on the bonnet looking, and Lenny looked at them, and Lenny was on his own, right? And this comes from someone who was on Al Crossley's side. He says that Lenny looked at them, looked at Al Crossley and thought, for a minute, this is what I believe he was thinking. Well, if I start winning, they're all going to pile in, kind of thing. So it don't make no sense it happened here. Or maybe, once again, they had bigger links than Lenny and would go further than just a brawl. These can be putting off factors for some of those all out and out fighters, because we know that Lenny wasn't a killer and he's not known really for using a gun or going to do a hit on someone, is he? So I believe, once again, that story about Al Crossley, and someone talked about it yesterday to me, I believe that Lenny might have had you too. You know, it's only my opinion because I haven't seen him fight or whatever, but on the psychological thing, then why didn't you go around the side and fight him when none of your boys were there, right? So Lenny's was thinking, it's a bit much for me, all that. You know what I mean? So, the only one that I say who stand up in a street fight, Lenny McLean can't build a bomb in a boxing, in the ring, right? But the only one that I say in a street brawl that would be able to have a go with Lenny, and it's a fair match or whatever, whether Lenny, I told you, I believe Lenny was not worried about Bill, but fearful of him. Anyone could win that, but then we know Lenny's taken on fights that he could lose before. What was the difference then? Build a bomb's links to some other big name criminals that Lenny might have been aware of, that might, you know, he had the power to get rid of him as well. Bill wouldn't use things like that. So I don't know if Lenny could really think that. So I could only say that he was weary of him in a fighting battle. Now, we talk the streets, right? Now, if I talked Build a Bomb, Terry Dunstan as well, sometimes it slips my mind a little bit, you know. If I was going to talk Build a Bomb and Terry Dunstan in a boxing ring, I tend to lean now towards Terry Dunstan. He was a light heavyweight cruiser, I think, but he boxed really high level, where Bill didn't fight long enough in the ring to go that high, I believe, right? But in a street fight, I believe Bill would be too much for Terry for some reason. I could see Bill moving forward, more tricks in a street fight and more cheating ways that you couldn't do in the ring kind of thing. Because Terry Dunstan, if I remember rightly, his physique, when I saw him, he was 6'1", he was lean. He didn't have much body fat on him for his weight and that kind of thing. He was another version to Paul Sykes. Paul Sykes was more slim and trimmer. Bill was round and all that, right? So I put Terry Dunstan in the top of the tree. And some of those with the street fighting stuff and reputations for going that further without knuckles and fighting. My brother Tony Argent, easier said than done to be facing him head on and knowing that it matters, mate. Those reputations of what you could have done before in that life that are on a complete serious level to some of those fighters that you lot talk about. So I say that's a psychological edge, even if they go into the round. And remember this, I haven't told you, but Tony Argent has done a couple of professional boxers that look much better than him in the ring, but in a street fight, they fell very, very quickly. Do you see what I mean? By that presence and thing with big Tony Argent standing there. The Dread from East London, right? Big, lean, smaller, but so nippy. And he does that one, the Dread. And he goes, yeah, what you want now, all right? Yeah, what you want? This one? You want that one? And he's talking all the time. He's fighting with some big geezers and dealing with them very easy. The Dread hasn't, you know, never been convicted of really serious crimes and all that. They talk a lot of garbage out here. But when you're faced with him and he looks at you, he seems to know psychologically what you can do with your fighting abilities. The only thing is a lot of those guys were fighting before the Dread started getting more skilled with his fighting, but he became really proficient. But he is one serious man who doesn't budge an inch psychologically. His focus is something that I've never seen before. I get worried when I match up people for different things. I think faced with those great fighters, bare knuckle fighters that have beaten up everybody, when you're standing before, when Terry Dunstan Build a Bomb, faced with Tony Argent, I even say the Dread too. You're faced with them and they're there. You're thinking, I could knock you out, you know, in a straight or whatever. And I believe in my whole heart, I think tonyA, my brother, would struggle in a straight with Build a Bomb and Terry Dunstan. I do, but I believe personality-wise, faced in a street with him, with Tony's ability as well as a fighting man, and that heart and that mind that it doesn't set thing, I think they start going, Tone, leave it. Fact. And I think it goes the same with the Dread as well. I think they go, leave it. You know what I mean? All right, Tone. Remember I told you this. With the long fella, very skilled with his hands and all that as well. People say, I haven't seen none of you say that who he lost the fight to, the long fella. I haven't heard nothing like that. But again, mixed with all kind of things as well as fighting. You could be the greatest fighter on earth, but there's something else when you're matched up with street men. Lee Murray the same. I'm going to do a big thing soon on this. I hope I don't get confused with you lot. But I always say, early morning talk. Ability, yes. The psychological warfares and battles before the fight begins, if it's going to begin, can make a few men go, hold on, what could come afterwards? Oh, can do without all this. Different levels to this thing. Good morning from Yami B TV.